Okay, great. So let me start off by sharing my screen. And we'll do that. Share screen. So can everyone see that very crowded slide with lots of pictures of food?
Yes.
Okay, great. So first and foremost, I want to thank you all again for being here. I'm really excited to do this pilot, and I want to share with you as much as possible and also receive from you and from each other. That's why we're using the Zoom with the interactions, so that we can do that. We have 90 minutes, and we're going to explore food and culture. And we're going to do that as it relates to being an NT or a wellness coach, a health coach, and how we relate to our clients and how we provide our clients with suggestions based on culture. We'll explore how to ask, we'll explore what to offer, how to offer things, and to consider both the culture and the background of the person, and also potentially to inject a little culture with lightheartedness and respect into what we offer, even a person who's from our same culture. For me, this evening is another take on the bio-individuality aspect that I feel is one of IINH's strongest points, is the idea that each person is different and each person has a different need. So this just takes that to another foreground. My slides are limited. This slide is an example of the fact that some of the slides have lots of words, but a lot of the slides really are meant to provoke you, to solicit you. As I said, I want to provide a base, a space, and then the interaction is hopefully what will also give us a lot of opportunity. I'll start out saying a bit, and then I'll ask you to do some interaction, and then we'll go back and forth. And I'll do my best to guide that process. And anytime you want to say something, say it, please, or knock or chat or whatever works for you. You're welcome to use everything in these slides, all the questions, all the information. And in fact, I'm hoping to get your recipes, not just for myself, but to share with everyone. And if you'll send me those by Saturday, and I'll be giving you where you can send those at the end of the presentation. And then by the 22nd in the evening time, Anita will get you the presentation, the recipes you've all shared, the recipes I share, and the information will be in a link, because I think that would be the easiest. So just a tiny bit about myself and why I'm here with you this evening. Basically, I grew up in a home where food was a language, and everything about food, what we made, how we made it, how we presented it, it had a meaning, even if we were completely unconscious of what the meaning was. And funny, on Tuesday, I practiced with Zoom with my mother and my aunt, and they were in the kitchen together cooking. They were out of season, but they were cooking the Christmas cookies that someone asked them to make, and they were happy as larks there together. Beyond my genetic predisposition to think food and culture go together, I've worked and lived in 5 different countries, and my first country outside of the United States to work and live in was Russia. And I didn't speak Russian at the time, and I literally communicated in the kitchen. I lived with a host family for a while, and they say if you want to learn a language, pillow talk. For me, it's pan talk. I really learn in the kitchen. And even when I'm traveling, I am acutely aware of the culinary experience I'm having. And my husband, fortunately, is the same. He's Swiss Italian. And it's, we plan our trips about where to eat. Recently, Spain, Italy, anytime, France, South Africa. Really, the idea of what to eat has a lot to do with why we go where we go. And during my studies at IINH, I was so overwhelmed with how much I liked it. I went from my original intention to only do the coaching to finish the NT degree. And still I felt a little bit like something was missing. And I think the best way to describe it is that living in Lugano, Switzerland, which is the Italian-speaking part, and in 20 minutes in 3 directions, you can be in Italy. Most of my clients are going to be either Italians or Italian-speaking and international, but particularly for the local population, if I tell them to have porridge for breakfast, they're either going to think, forget it, not going to do it, or they're going to think she wasn't paying attention, she doesn't know enough about my culture, because for the average Italian that I've known in my short, limited 10 years here, porridge is not on their radar. And then there's the historical aspect of culture. I was watching one of my 30 observations and impressed always with those. And in this particular one, the NT asked a man from the former Yugoslavia, well, what happened in the 1990s that would make you change your life? Now, maybe that was a provocative question on purpose. It didn't seem that way, but it also reminded me, we can't know. We just can't know the paradigm of every person we meet. And the world is becoming more global. Last night, I went to a lecture on the rescue missions happening in Italy, bringing thousands of people a month from Eritrea, Ethiopia, Syria, random Sudan, African countries. And this is becoming a real population of Italy, and it's happening in other countries too. So I can live in one country, even a country that seems monoculture, but there's a lot of other cultures happening. So how do we address the cultural paradigm? So voila, that was how this was born. IINH, as always, is innovative and open to the ideas of students and alumni. And they gave me this opportunity to be here with you this evening. So I'm excited, and I have notes. So I will be using my notes if you see me sort of looking down and so forth. And now I'd like to get started. So everyone with me? I'm guessing. I can't hear you, but I'm going to guess there's eyes happening out there. So this obviously is a slide with foods that I ate as a child. And then here I have our agenda, and very brief, 4 points, and we'll go through them. And I've done a lot of talking until now, and now it's your turn. So what I'd like to do is, these are 5 questions that will help us know who we are and help me make sure I meet your expectations. So I've done my best to meet the expectations we set out. And when I sign up for something, I typically have a reason for doing it. So in a minute or less, because we want to use the time as we can, what is your name, what country you currently live in, and where you were born. And that can mean that, for example, I might say I was born in Rowan, New Jersey, and now I live in New York State, if I were in the same country where I was born. And then your idea of why culture matters, or what is culture for you. Please don't answer both of those questions. Answer one that you feel resonates more with you. And then one thing you hope to take away from the evening, or why you signed up for this evening. Now, again, answer one of those. Some people sign up because they're curious and they don't really have a takeaway need. Some people sign up because they're like, I want 5 recipes. So let me know. I really want to know, because it will make sure that at the very least I can meet at least, well, hopefully all of your needs. So who'd like to start? This is where you unmute yourself.
Okay, well, I start then, Nicole.
Hey, thank you.
Not really part of this, but I need
yes,
to.
Yes,
you are. Born in Holland, and but a long time, and it was quite a culture shock to come to Ireland and see completely different foods, and of course trying to stick to my Dutch recipes and my Dutch national foods, and I couldn't get them for the last. Things have changed dramatically since, of course. Many years ago, it was not impossible. So anytime I'd go home, I would bring all the bits and pieces with me to make my, favorite pea soup and sausage and all of that kind of stuff.
Culinary mules.
So, yeah, exactly. And we still, of course, have a few staples here as well that I would have had as a kid, and that we passed on to my children. So as far as I'm concerned, I would like to learn about other cultures and the differences, particularly those outside of Europe.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Anita. And who's next?
I'll go.
Thank you.
Maggie.
Thank you, Maggie.
Okay, my name is Maggie. Some of you know me from the college. Where do I live? I live in Dublin now, and I was born in County Fermanagh, Northern Ireland. Grew up on a farm and got plenty of plain food. What is culture for me? Culture for me, I'd say, is adventure. It's food, it's art, it's travel, it's people, and it's all these things interest me, especially food. And if I'm traveling like you, I have food on the menu first, and then I think history or museums and all are at the very bottom of my list. I signed up for this evening. I'm very interested in your take, Nicole.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm honored you're with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Next. Don't be shy.
Don't mute me now. Okay.
Anizeska? I see that you're there.
Yeah, hi, I'm here. Hi. Hi, Nicole. My name is Agnieszka. I currently live in Switzerland as well, as you do, for the last 5 years.
In where?
In Basel.
Basel, okay.
Yeah. So I'm Polish. I was born in Poland, but I used to live in Dublin for 7-8 years almost.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we moved here to Switzerland. So yeah, I guess I think I signed up because I was interested in to get some new recipes,
Okay.
just to get some ideas, and also I was just curious, what is this webcast about? It sounded really interesting.
Great, thank you.
So yeah.
Okay. You'll definitely get at least 5 recipes.
Super. Thanks.
I see Annie. Hello? I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but I do see Aine. Is that right? A-I-N-E?
That's Anya.
Anya, thank you. Someone has some fun kids. Anyone? Maybe Claire or Catalin?
Hi, can you hear me? It's Catalin speaking.
Hi, Catalin.
Hi, so my name is Catalin Servin and I live in Bandon, County Cork, Ireland at the moment, and I'm planning to stay here.
Okay.
I was born in Budapest, in Hungary, but I spent my first 6 years in Russia because my mother is Russian, my dad is Hungarian.
Тогда мы можем говорить на русском?
Да, можем. С удовольствием. So my idea of why culture matters in nutrition and therapies is obviously because of food, and I'd be very much so interested in your tips and advice perhaps on how to deal with people in a setting, in a one-to-one consultation setting. I'm already coming from a mixed background, living in Ireland, and if I'll have an absolutely new background coming to me, what would be your tips? That's why I have signed up.
Great. Thank you so much for being so clear. Thank you. Who'd like to go next?
Nicole, could you try to bit Anya there, because I have a feeling that that's where the noise may be, the background noise.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. Who'd like to go next?
Hi, Nicole. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi there. This is Valentina. I am originally from Italy.
Oh, yay!
Hey.
Italiano? Italiano, scusa.
Italiana. From Naples, and been living in Ireland for 19 years. So I'm half and half at this point. So the reason why I signed up to this is just to basically try and manage different cultures. So I think you mentioned at the beginning you deal with different clients from different backgrounds, different countries, and I think it's important to take into account that background when you talk to your clients. So it's really to get different viewpoints and learn from maybe other people's experiences and just see if I can apply any of that intelligence in my sessions.
Great. And we'll be counting on you to give us your experiences too, Valentina.
Yeah, okay.
Grazie. Okay. Anyone else? Caroline or Claire, Cullen, Cataline? No, got Cataline already, pardon.
Hello, Nicole, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name's Caroline Henry.
Hi, Caroline.
How are you? I live in County Mayo in Ireland, but I was born in Coventry in England.
Okay.
I think my idea of why culture matters in nutritional therapy is because it is so individually based, and we look at people as unique individuals. So we need to be able to work with people from where they're at and what they're used to. And I'm hoping to take away some new recipes from this evening.
Okay. At least 5. Hopefully you've all brought some too, but I know I have mine.
Great, thank you.
Okay, great. I really like what you said. I just want to make two comments, if I may. First of all, Katalin, I'm actually Hungarian as well, and Budapest is one of my favorite places. So I'm really, I envy you in a way. And Caroline, when you said where they're at, this is really part of the reason that I was inspired to do this. So I'm grateful for you all giving your initial ideas, because I think it will enrich what we're able to share this evening. So who would like to go next? Anyone?
Hi, can you hear me? It's Kristina.
Hi, Kristina.
Hi. It's going to go very weird, but I'm also Hungarian.
Oh, fantastic.
I've been living in Ireland for about 12 years.
Okay.
And I was born in Budapest. And I think food is such an elemental part of culture that, you know, when we talk about culture, food is a necessary element of that. So whenever you talk to people, you know, they bring food with them, they grew up with food. So I think it gives them an absolute basis of what their habits are and where they are right now. So the same as with you, if I travel, you know, I absolutely love trying the local food, not the touristy food and not the food that I'm eating all the time, the local food. And I like going to places where the locals go, not the tourists go. So I have no expectations really. I mean, I'm just curious if I can pick up anything that maybe I haven't thought of. And I think it's going to be very important for us because well, my dream is to build an international business going forward. And I mean, I think Ireland is getting so multicultural year by year. And, you know, when you look at Europe, it's just, you know, an absolute melting pot. So,
in fact,
yeah, so this is me.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kristina. And you bring up a really good point. I mean, the fact of the matter is this connection, this feeling of comfort people have based on the food that they ate. This is a huge part of how we can help people, in my opinion, to navigate the psychological aspects of changing their habits. So this is why, for me, culture is really important too, because if I don't consider that, I already have a block between myself and my client to be able to help them to manage something that may be difficult for them, even in the same culture. So it's really useful. I think it's really, this call alone, we have Polish, Hungarian, Irish, Dutch, American. So we represent an international culture just here on our thing this evening. So thanks. Who would like to go next? We haven't got everyone yet, for sure. And you're not required. You'll get more out of it if you let me know what you're hoping to get. So I see Dee and Colin, Claire. Would any of you like to speak?
Hi, Nicole.
Colin.
Cheryl.
Hi, Colin.
Cheryl.
Oh, Cheryl, pardon me. You have there's a cultural paradigm, isn't it? You have your last name first.
No problem. Well, my name is Cheryl. I'm currently living in Germany. I was born in Carlow in Ireland. I'm married to a South African. We met in Brussels, in Belgium, many years ago. So we've kind of been around the place, lived in Australia, New Zealand, done the whole thing. So really, I suppose, from our travels and that, we've seen like culture and food, you know, come hand in hand. And people have different expectations of food, different uses for food. But even in Germany, I suppose it was a little bit different to Ireland, in the sense of like people absolutely adore their pig meat. And for me, it's like, I just can't understand it. You know, there's like pig everywhere, like sausages, everything. So I suppose it's to have the respect and be mindful of, you know, the things that people eat, and, you know, not to dismiss that. And it's just to really kind of accept that and understand. And that's why I signed up for this evening, is to really get a better understanding from your experiences and any views and thoughts you have.
Great.
How do we kind of appreciate other people's diets and try to make them better, but at the same time, you know, respect their culture. That's really it.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. And honestly, you bring up something really important, which several of you have already said, and I want to make a clear point. I will definitely share my experiences, and I will give you things to take away. And the richness of who we are as a group, this is what I'm hoping to share too. I mean, all of you have your experiences, and I would be fool and unprofessional to pretend I have the answers. My dear, is, as I said at the beginning, to create the space so you can also contribute. And I think that'll be the most abundant way to go through the evening. So thanks for reminding me to say that, Cheryl. Okay, anyone else? Let's see, we still haven't heard from Dee. Dee, are you there? Maybe you're shy. And then I just have a phone number with no name. And it's 35. I don't know what country that is. And I could look it up, but I won't. Anyone else? Oh, Dee, I see you, Dee.
Hello. Can
Hi.
you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can't see you actually, but I can hear you.
Hi. I can't join on my laptop for some reason. I had to go through the phone.
Okay.
Is that right?
Sure. I don't know. This is definitely Anita's business, the logistics. I won't pretend. But if it's working for you on the phone, go for it.
Okay, and I'm looking at the screen at the same time.
Great.
Thank you.
So can you see the questions, Dee?
Your name, where you live,
Yep.
where you were born.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Do I fill that in?
Please, please. No, you just tell us at large.
Oh, sorry. I've just put my headphones on. So my name is Dee Hamill. I live in Northern Ireland.
Okay.
I was born in East London.
Okay.
Your idea of why culture matters.
And then one thing
Sorry?
Your idea about culture, and then one thing you'd like to take away.
Just the culture for me is kind of your background.
Okay.
You know, what you were kind of grown up with, what beliefs and behaviors regarding food that you've kind of adopted along the way. And one thing I hope to take away from this evening was just to learn more about how it can apply, and, you know, because we're in Northern Ireland, here I am, we wouldn't have many cultures here. You know, it's not like a big city.
Okay.
So, I mean, I've lived in London, I've traveled around the world, so I would have a lot of experience with different cultures. But yeah, I suppose just to get more of an idea in relation to, you know, nutrition and nutritional therapy.
Okay, great.
That kind of. I'm sorry, I'm late. I just
no problem. You're just in time.
Like 5 minutes.
And in fact, one of the things you mentioned is one of the things I'm hoping we will address, which is the idea of not just how do I manage with someone, but how can I give someone opportunities to learn more about a culture through food, to expand their possibilities. So that hopefully will be good too. So thanks, Dee.
Thank you. I'm going to put myself on mute.
Great.
If that's okay, because my kids might start shouting at me.
No problem.
Okay,
Thank you. Just where people are from. and I've taken notes of what your expectations are and what you're hoping to get. And I assure you, I think everyone's will be met, either by myself or by the interactions of the group. So if we move on, if my screen allows me. So here we have basically what we just talked about. What is culture and how might it be necessary? All of you basically said this in one way or another. And I love this because I don't know if you can see, but the Italian flag is next to the Swiss flag. And since I live in the Italian part of Switzerland, I found that really interesting. And I like this idea of culture as the ideas, customs, and social behavior of a particular people or society. And I believe it was Dee who said behaviors, beliefs. We all talked about habits or connections, or someone else said the unique individuality of a person, and food elemental to culture. So this is how the context applies, which you already know, but I felt like putting that in there. So next we look at interacting with clients from different cultures and experiences. So for me, there are three fundamental things that are important when I'm in front of someone who's from a different place than me. And a few of you, at least two of you, said to meet a person where they're at. And as a nutritional therapist, as a health or wellness coach, that's so important because it's already a stretch sometimes. People say they have goals and they believe and do have their goals, but it can be difficult to reach them. And our job is to help a person find the space where they can reach them. So taking into account their paradigm is really important. So for me, there are three: prompt, explore, modify, and build. So I prompt my clients, and I'm going to give you some questions that I use and encourage you to let me know if there's questions you use. And those questions are in a multi-ethnic context, and you can put them in the pre-questionnaire. So the questions you'll see, I have incorporated into my pre-questionnaire. And whether the person is from the same culture as me or not, I leave it in there because it may trigger something in them to think about something else that can help me to help them or to serve them. I like to think about it better that way. And then explore their cultural norms and values, actually. And someone said the word beliefs, and create an opening so that they might move beyond these norms. And one of the particular things for me is the time of day to eat and what I do eat for a particular meal, because that can have a lot to do with norms. And so it can help me to offer them. So we'll get to it in a slide later, to jump from their current meal to the next meal. Maybe I have to find a place in between because I understand the cultural paradigm that they have. And then to modify and build upon standard questions. So we are given an enormous amount of resource from IINH, and I think that it's our job to take those and make them our own and build on them depending upon how we see our practice. So that's really important for me. So in this next slide, you'll see that there are two, well, I have them as two, but there are actually many questions that I add, in the sense I put in the pre-questionnaire, what is your ethnic background and how has it played a role in your eating norms and preferences? So a really good example for me is I'm an American, but I have a huge Italian part, a little Spanish part, a Hungarian part, and an English part. But I grew up with the Italian and Spanish part. So that ethnic background, even though I'm an American, plays a huge role in how I eat and how I see food. And even though my mother has never lived anywhere but America, if you ask her, she's an Italian. She's not, but for her she is, because that is her ethnic paradigm, and she eats through that paradigm. And then are there spices or foods which make you feel at home? So you see this guy here, this second one where I have a collage with a lot of small pictures. I love to use photographs. I think it's really important. And I went online and I looked up what are comfort foods. So the bottom left one is Persian, and it's a dish with eggplant. The next one is Korean, and it's bibimbap. It's a version of bibimbap. And then I have some cookbooks, and then even a paleo comfort food, and then there's a Tex-Mex Mexican comfort food, and then of course I put the Italian one right front and center, lasagna. It's Nonna made it. It's from grandma, so it makes me feel good. And particularly my idea as a nutritional therapist, my background is in coaching and that kind of counseling. Food is a conduit to help people connect someone used the word connect. It was actually, well, now I'm going to forget who it was. Sorry, I won't use the time for that. But to help people connect with themselves. And food is a way that they do that, because it can be less threatening depending upon how we approach it. So comfort foods can help people to move from a habit to a new idea. And if I know what someone's comfort food is, like many Americans, comfort food is macaroni and cheese. I personally don't like it, but it's for many Americans. What I'd like to know now, if you guys can unmute yourself randomly, but what are your comfort foods? What do you eat when you're feeling like, I need something to feel better?
I eat, hi, it's Katalin speaking.
Yes, thank you.
I'd eat at wintertime, so I can only think of wintertime at the moment. I'll eat the Hungarian paprika chicken with cream fresh.
Yeah, this is wonderful. Thank you. It's a good one. And it's mostly healthy. It has chicken in it.
If it has no side dish, which is the very flour-rich wheat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Katalin. Anyone else want to share a comfort food?
Mine would be, can you hear me?
Yes, Maggie, please go ahead.
Oh, mine's is roast chicken dinner with I was going to say spuds and gravy and roasted carrots and peas and sweet corn and stuffing. It has to have stuffing.
You're making me hungry.
No, I'm really hungry now myself. But it's my favorite dinner, and that's because my mom cooked it it's a Sunday dinner, and if I was on death row, that would be the dinner I'd order.
Well, maybe I should ask it that way. If you were on death row, what would you?
Dinner. That's my favorite dinner, and it's Richard's favorite dinner as well.
Well, if you're making it, I'm sure.
Well, it is his too. We just coincidentally have the favorite dinner thing.
Well, and think about it. Even when Katalin and Maggie are speaking about their comfort food, you can hear how happy it makes them. And that is really a way to connect with people, even if their comfort food is potato chips and ice cream, which you're not wanting them to eat. As several of you said, know where the person is. And from that knowing, you create an opening where you can enter. And that is really important. Does one more person want to share their comfort food? Just for sake of time, I don't ask everyone. Anyone?
I think, in Poland, we usually, when we have meals, like we would have 3 meals in the day, and lunch or the supper would be the biggest one, and usually it has two courses, so you'd have a soup and the main. But I guess that's what I got from home, that I love soups, especially in winter. And then living abroad, as we're talking about the cultural things, so my soup to go in winter would be Thai coconut soup.
Oh.
with shrimps or with salmon or things like that. So that's my go-to. So I guess that's the mixture, taking something from home and then adapting it in being in some other place.
Yeah. And this is a great way to work with a client too, to say, oh, well, your comfort food is soup from Poland. We're here in Thailand. What do you think if we transfer that? I know you're not in Thailand, you're in Basel, but the idea is to help the person to come up with their own recommendation, which we do anyway by negotiating. We make our recommendations and then we negotiate, will this work for you? How will this go? And you can do the same way across cultures. And the way I look at it is, how can we transfer what made you feel good in that context to this context? Now, Valentina, I saw you lit up. Did you want to just quickly say your comfort food?
Yeah, and I just want to reinforce the stereotype that most people would have of Italians, and just say that, my comfort food would be pasta. Any type of, so we used to make fresh pasta when we were kids. I don't do that anymore, unfortunately. But any type of pasta with, I don't know, whether it's tomato sauce or pulses, lentils, beans, anything. That's me. So I just wanted to reinforce that stereotype.
Thank you so much.
No
and
problem.
you bring up a really good point, actually, Valentina. It's important as our role to know a stereotype, but to not let us control how we interact. Because, for example, I lived in Russia for 10 years. And for me, Russian food is not my favorite. And I don't think that it has a lot of good cuisine. Living there, I mean, I love Russia and I'd go back and live tomorrow in many ways for my own reasons. Food is not one of them. And in fact, people used to joke with me, how is it you, someone who loves food, wound up there? I found things I liked a lot. But my point is, I wouldn't just assume, even though I lived there for 10 years, which is a blip in time, that I could say, well, I know all the Russian foods. And it's an important thing to remove ourselves from. So Valentina, thank you for bringing that up for me. And another point that Valentina helps us to bring up is the idea, what if you have someone that finds out they're gluten intolerant and their comfort food is pasta? Like, help them to find a way, if you know that that is part of their cultural paradigm and it's going to be hard for them. Like my husband, when I first met him, if pasta was not pasta, normal, type 0 flour, he wasn't going near it. 10 years later, his favorite pasta is lentil penne. How did it happen? It was, years, but it's the idea of finding, again, transfer. I like to use the word transfer as opposed to replacement, but if replacement is replacement, it's what it is. Yeah, and it's a useful thing to be able to do. So moving to the next slide, the next thing we can ask about, maybe someone, like some of you said, I was born in Ireland, I still live in Ireland. It doesn't change the fact that you've either traveled a lot or you've met people who have traveled. So again, to create a space for people to open for them, you can ask them, do you feel that traveling has affected your food tastes, your habits? And then a really good thing to do is not ask just a yes/no question, but say, if so, in what way? For example, living in the Russian Far East, I began to eat fish for breakfast. Traveling in Southeast Asia, for me, soup, no problem. I'm happy to have soup for breakfast. So maybe someone has always lived in the same town, the same place, but once they went to Mallorca and they had an octopus that they'd never had before, and they discovered they liked it. And they're trying to find a rich source of protein and they don't have any issues with seafood. So you can find ways, even through someone who is still in the same culture, through their travel. And then for that same kind of a person, you might say, would you consider eating something outside of your normal habits? If you would, what would it be? So I open again the question to all of you. Would you consider eating something out of your habits, which in this group I think is probably vast. So, and if so, what would it be? Just give us one thing. Anyone? Valentina, I see you're green.
Yeah. So I, to be honest, maybe a bit like your husband, I've really adjusted over the years a bit because to Anita's point at the beginning, when I first came over, there was very little available in terms of, Italian food and what I would have been used to. I think generally speaking, I've always been really open-minded. I traveled a lot when I was a kid. One fabulous memory I have, and that was my first encounter with North African food. In particular, Algerian food, was traveling to Paris and just, tasting so many different things that I'd never tasted before or tried before, and that just, opened up my my mind and my stomach,
and your mouth.
So I'm very open-minded. I would literally try almost anything.
Great. And what Valentina brings up is really important too, because the more open-minded I am, with the less judgment I have of the client in front of me, the better chance I have that they'll open their mind. Because judgment is part of the reason we all have fear, right? I'm afraid someone will think badly of me or, think whatever of me. And the way to get over that with our clients is, in our own way of being, say something like what Valentina just said. Even though I have my own need, I have my stereotype of myself as an Italian, I'm open because of XYZ. And this can really be helpful. And here in this picture, you see, this is a Tuscan dish here on the bottom second to the right. And then here, this is a Chinese buffet. And then we have Japanese, Vietnamese, and then a travel magazine. And then this is a Southeast Asian market with lots of fish. So I have also found that depending upon the client, and also because I put some things in my pre-questionnaire, I sometimes bring books with me, or I have pictures to provoke them. And that can be really helpful too, because I feel that my role is not to tell someone what they have to eat, but to help them to discover what they want to eat, even if they didn't know it existed before. So I find that to be really useful, and I offer that as a tip, if you will. So if we move on, to the next slide. So we're going to move on, considering cultural norms and values. And I find this really important. This is one of the things that really prompted me, frankly, to ask IINH if we could do something like this. Again, I'm back to the word prompt, leading questions in the questionnaire or live. Kind of like comfort food. What were your favorite childhood foods? And would you consider repeating them? So, for example, on Tuesday when I was speaking with my mother and my aunt, again, relating to Valentina, my mother was saying, oh, I didn't feel good yesterday, so I had pastina with cottage cheese. And I used to bring pastina to Russia, which is a little star-shaped pasta, which I've not actually seen in Italy exactly like that, but in America, it's Italian. And we mix it with a kind of whey. And as a child, this made me feel really happy. But as an adult, it doesn't work for me. But there are those foods that can work. And provoking the client to those things can also help them to remove blocks, because you can say, oh, well, that worked for you as a child. Would it work for you now? And maybe they hadn't thought about it. Or maybe they say, no, it wouldn't work for me now. And then that's a platform to go somewhere else. And then going back to the travel question, where have you traveled? What have you eaten? And would you like to eat it again? So this second question, for me, has been a really successful one with people, because they like their travels. It's usually vacation, or they were somewhere exotic, and then it brings a good feeling to them. And if I'm having to change a habit, I want to do it in a good frame of mind. And this helps me to be in that good frame of mind. So again, interaction. If you would like to answer either of these questions, to share with us either a place you've traveled and a food, or a favorite childhood food that you'd like to have again. Don't be shy. Hello. Christina, Caroline, Cheryl, anyone? Anya, Claire, Cataline. I can see you that you're there, so I know I'm not alone. Anushka. Valentina has been very solicited. Hello?
Hello,
I can hear you, Maggie, go ahead.
I don't know have you a question for us?
Yes, if you would like to say what either your childhood food that you like, that you enjoy still, or something you've eaten when you traveled that you'd like to try again.
Why, everything.
Que fortuna. Such good luck for you, Maggie.
I'm easy prey, sorry. I sleep dream food, so what do I do about it?
Well, you're so thin. Good for you that you have a good metabolism.
Oh, I don't know about that. It goes on in places I can hide it.
Good for you. Good for you.
Okay, yeah, no, it's all fat. I just love food, and that's it.
Okay.
I can't.
So Maggie would be easy.
Okay, I'll mute and give out somebody else.
What about drink, Nicole? Can I throw in the coffee there? Because that's really important. Various countries with various coffees and various cultures and how they treat it and all of that.
In fact, I start most of my presentations, as Anita has seen, with a slide with several different kinds of coffee on it. But I thought for this evening, food was a better representation. Yeah, and this is something really important that Anita brings up. If someone has a favorite thing that they like to drink, it can be a kind of a shake, it can be a coffee or a tea. You can integrate those things into food as well. Like I use different kinds of tea for different kinds of cooking. I'm making porridge for myself for tomorrow morning, and I use green tea as my base. So all of these questions are meant not to have a block of a solid answer, but to open the possibility to have a variety of different answers, different options. So if no one else wants to share, I'll continue, but anyone? You don't have to, but I don't want to cut anyone off either. My computer's acting up and it's not letting me see all of you. No? Okay, so I'll move on. And we look at the next slide, which is considering diet and lifestyle. For diet and lifestyle, pardon, I can't see my own screen because let me look here. So if I consider cultural norms and values and diet and lifestyle recommendations, now we go to the idea of explore and expand. So one of the things that I have found particularly challenging in Europe is time of day for a meal and the appropriateness of a meal choice. And then I want to solicit from you others. So let's look at the time of day. So time of day for a meal. Ideally, of course, we want to say have 3 square meals or 5 small meals, depending upon the person's bioindividuality, consistently at reasonable hours. And the timing of these meals can vary dramatically according to culture. So you see here, this is the Spanish idea of what is timing. And, you know, breakfast is at 11 or 10, lunch is at 3, dinner is at 8:30. How do I manage that? Particularly, for example, I have a friend, she's an American, but lived in Italy most of her life. She's used to having dinner between 8 and 8:30. So when she gets up to go to work at 7 in the morning, she is not hungry. And to say to her, you know, we originally started, she's a client, we originally started with the idea of, well, you know, you have to have breakfast, because she's in menopause and she was really wanting to balance her hormones. And she said, okay, let me give it a try. So she did it for about 3 weeks. And when we met the next time, she said, I just can't do it. I finished eating between 9 and 9:30. My whole family's eating. I don't want to eat at 7 and, you know, mess up the routine of the family. So at 7 in the morning, I'm just not hungry. So our solution was, okay, pack yourself what you would like to eat as a breakfast snack, which for her was yogurt with fruit and nuts and some seeds. And she eats it at 10 in her office, and she has it with her. So she understood she needed to start her day with something besides a coffee, which was her usual breakfast, but she just couldn't eat at 7 o'clock in the morning before she went to she works at a university. So we played with the time. Yeah. If I ask a Spaniard, well, you have to start eating your dinner at 7, they won't be able to go out to dinner anymore, because in Spain, they're not going to serve you before 8 minimum. So it's this idea of taking time and going beyond the construct of what we know to be the best time for a person and taking into consideration what their norms are. Part of that for me is I want to give someone a recommendation they can follow. And if I give them a recommendation that they simply can't manage because of the social construct of where they live, I'm not helping them. Someone wants to make a comment? Please do. No? Anyone? I hear someone.
That's the phone. Listen, Nicole, you just freaked me out because I'm going to Spain for the weekend, Madrid, as I told you during the week. And you're now telling me that we can't have dinner before 8 o'clock at night?
Yeah, I mean, we have been in several tapas places where they're like, you can have whatever you want to drink, but before 7:30, we won't serve you anything but nuts. Now, touristy places are going to serve you, but we just changed our rhythm. You were there 6 days. You're only there a weekend. I'm sure in Madrid, you'll find places to serve you. I'm talking about someone who lives in Barcelona, and how are they going to manage the construct?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's for us anyway. I don't know, but I'd say a lot of Irish people, 8 o'clock or beyond for dinner is incredibly late, isn't it?
And for an Italian, that's normal.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Please, I can't remember who that is with the phone. It's either Katrina or Dee. Is that you, Katrina?
Sorry, it's Dee that has the
Hi,
Dee.
sorry.
Okay, sorry. Please go ahead. No?
Hi, it's Katrina on the phone.
Please, go ahead. Katrina? Hello? Katrina, can
Sorry,
you...
hi. I'm here. Sorry, I just couldn't. I don't know if you can hear me there. I think I can hear you again.
Okay. Did you want to make comment?
No,
Oh.
I wasn't trying to get in.
Okay. Yeah, so Anita brings up a good point, actually, which is, what if you're just traveling to a place? Like, when we got married, my husband and I got married in the United States, and we were planning the wedding dinner. There was only 10 of us. It was fairly easy planning. And we got married at 4 p.m. And so the restaurant said, oh, well, you can take the 6 o'clock seating. My husband said to me, I am not Swiss German, and I am not eating at 6 o'clock. And we took the 8 o'clock seating. So that's another thing is, to be lighthearted. If someone, my husband is not a racist per se, but for him, eating and times have a lot to do with culture. Spain is perfect for him. It's absolutely ideal. Whereas my mother's companion, if it's after 6:30, he's about to faint because he can't eat any later than that. Now, my role as an NT is not to judge when a person eats, it's to find what's going to work for them. So, if I say to my husband, we have to start eating every night at 6 o'clock, he'll just say, well, then I'm not going to eat. So it's really important to find those capacities. Hold on, I can't manage right now, Anita, so I can't mute anyone.
Oh, can you not?
No.
Right.
Sorry.
Okay.
So while Anita's checking the logistics,
yeah, I don't think it.
I have here, have you considered soup for breakfast? So the next thing we talk about is, which of these, Katrina, can you mute yourself, please? Katrina. Or can you mute Katrina, Anita?
No, I can't.
Anita, I don't know if it makes any difference, but I've noticed that D. Hamill is the host.
It's the host from time to time. Yeah, I know. Okay. And it happens.
Yeah. Hello?
No control.
Hi,
Yeah.
can you mute yourself, please, Katrina?
Christ's sake. Oh yeah, it
Hello?
was on mute. Yeah, it was just on mute there. I can put it back on mute again.
Yeah, that would be great because we can hear you walking about and so forth.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello?
Hi.
Hello?
Yes?
Can you hear me? It's Dee.
Yes, Dee, hi.
Yeah, for some reason I'm the host. I don't know why.
How exciting. Aren't you lucky?
But it keeps knocking me out, and I have to keep loading up again. So I don't know what's going on.
Anita, do you want to take back the host?
You're back again to the host now, Nicole. So
okay.
Let's hope it stays that way. Sorry.
Let's hope. Okay. So looking at this slide, one of the things that I think is really useful is looking at what is appropriate as a meal choice. So if you look at the slide here, on the bottom left, we have the standard porridge, which is considered the meal choice, right? On the top right, we have the standard Italian breakfast choice. A cappuccino, a brioche, maybe some small sweet tarts. So sometimes our need is to get a person from this, what I call diabetes on a plate, to something like a porridge. It may not be porridge. I love Italian breakfast once in a while, but if that's what I eat every day, I don't feel good. Some people have been eating that for 60 years and they feel fine and it's great. So then I have to ask myself, is my goal in this moment to change that, or is it to change something else? So the other things you see, the top left corner here, this is a Japanese breakfast, and on the right is a Vietnamese breakfast, which is a soup called, I always say this wrong, it's po. Maggie probably knows how to say this better than I do, but the short answer, the short point is to consider what is an appropriate meal. So maybe I can have dinner for breakfast. I mean, I lived in Ussurisk, Russia for a year and, 6 months. And for me, I went along with what my host family did, and whatever they had for dinner, they had for breakfast. And then if they still had more, they had it for lunch. Now, this was 20 years ago. There wasn't a lot of food available, and this was how they managed it. Things have dramatically changed, but their ideas haven't changed. They don't have a breakfast food, because if you spent the first 40 years of your life having for breakfast what was for dinner, you're not constricted by the idea that breakfast has to be sweet or savory. So we can expand these ideas. I have some British clients, and for them, it's either porridge or an egg. That's it. That's all they're going to have for breakfast. And one of them is having a real issue because she doesn't have enough variety in her meals. So we talked about she loves smoked fish. So I said, would you consider black bread and smoked salmon for breakfast? It's not a big leap because there's fish paste in the idea, And she said, I love it. It's fantastic. I add a quail egg. It's great. My husband, for example, he loves his brioche and his coffee for breakfast, if I can even get him to have breakfast. So you'll see, I'll give you my web site, and I just posted today for the Chinese New Year a dessert I make for him sometimes to have for breakfast, because it's sweet, but it's homemade, it has almonds, and it has fruit. So I find a way to manage around what his norm is, no breakfast at all, or just sweets and a coffee, and put into it what I can within what he can bring himself to eat. So this, for me, is one of my favorite places to play culturally, which is, what would you consider having for breakfast? Some people, one of you said, my main meal is dinner. And ideally, of course, the main meal is lunch, because dinner, especially if it's at 8 o'clock, then soon after I'm going to bed. So what I have said to people, okay, your main meal is dinner. You're not having it till 8:30. Would you consider having a soup? Would you consider adding something to your lunch so that you could have less for your dinner? So I don't necessarily have a prescription for this. For me, it's the idea, open the concept that what is appropriate. And if I can open up that concept, the field is endless. I mean, all of you who've traveled, especially in Southeast Asian countries, I mean, what people eat doesn't necessarily have a particular time of day, at least to a Western eye. Now, I'm not saying that there's no rhyme or reason. That's not my intention. So my question here for the audience, again, if 2 or 3 people would like to answer, what is your favorite thing to have for breakfast? Hello.
Hi, it's Agnieszka here. I would say overnight oats and chia pudding. That's my thing to know. But yeah, as in Basel, it's on the border with Germany and France, and many of my colleagues, they would just eat sweets for breakfast. It's the same as the Italian one. So I guess, having clients here, you would also need to consider that. And, what you said, it's really interesting to kind of, try to fit in what they would be eating. So thanks for that. Thanks for sharing.
Sure. And in fact, what's chia pudding?
Sorry?
What's chia pudding?
Yeah.
What is it?
Sorry, say it again.
You said you had chia pudding for breakfast.
Yeah, overnight. Yeah, so I just do it overnight oats with chia and plant-based milk, and then some fruit on it and nuts and seeds.
It's a kind of porridge, basically.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. And in fact, Caroline, you bring up, Anushka, you bring up 2 points. One is the idea where you are in Basel, also some people eat the Birkenmuesli, which is something English German part. And also the concept of you've adapted. I'm sure you didn't have that for breakfast as a child, did you?
No, I would have sandwiches.
Exactly. Absolutely, cheese and bread. And the idea is not to tell our clients, oh, that's the wrong thing to have, but to say, would you consider this or that? What expansion can you create for them? Yeah. Especially if someone, obviously if someone is diabetic, they have heart issues, they have obesity issues, then we have to address the first meal even more importantly. Yeah. Would one more person like to share their favorite breakfast?
Yeah, mine.
Please.
Maggie.
Hi, Maggie.
I think for me, at the moment, I'm trying to do the low carb diet, low carb, high fat. So I'm doing Greek yogurt, blueberries, and walnuts, which I really love. Mm-hmm. My main thing at the moment is I really need protein. Like eggs is another one I just love.
Yeah.
Porridge, I would be hungry 1 hour later.
Yeah.
So it doesn't do it for me. And the other thing is I am a sensitive morning person. So food, I find it very hard I wouldn't go into going for miso soup or anything like that. I just want something that's comfort breakfast nearly for me. It's really safe. Like when I go to Australia or New Zealand, I love trying new things in cafes and I want to go out. And I think, God, they have everything. They have leftover dinner, as you said, from last night. They have everything, it's amazing. And I will eat it when I'm there, just actually check out the recipe. That's my nosiness.
Mm-hmm.
It tastes like...
It's your curiosity.
It's totally my curiosity. But mostly for me, I am morning is not my best time to, it's very tough. And I just have to have something that I just feel it's a safe time for me to have something to eat.
Yeah.
And that's emotional stuff probably coming into that time.
Absolutely. And that is so important because, as I think any of us who are either still studying or currently practicing, the emotions of food play a huge role in whether or not we can get the client to come to the table, literally. And so in the morning, for example, I mean, my husband absolutely refuses any kind of an egg, anything. So I create him these breakfast bars that are packed with protein because, as you're saying, you need protein. This in this moment in his life is what he needs. And that's the important thing. So if the person says, I know that I need this, but I'm not sure how to get it, or my idea of a way to get it is like this, that's where we can enter. And we can say, okay, so you want a comfort food in the morning. What is your comfort food? How can we augment that comfort food so it has what you need and makes you feel comfortable to combine these things? So if we go back to where we started before, the idea of create the space to solicit from our client what they're able to do. Now, maybe I want to get someone to go from the Italian breakfast to the Irish breakfast. That might be my goal based on their needs, but I can't get them to do that in one jump. So I need to find in-between steps for them to get there. So this is, I think, the most valuable thing is not to prescribe what has to be, but to find what a person is capable of. Some people in the morning simply haven't had breakfast for 50 years. And now suddenly they have a heart problem and their doctor's telling them they have to, have a certain kind of a diet, and they're having a hard time, even though they know it's a desperate need because they have a medical issue. It doesn't necessarily, that urgency won't necessarily help them to get over the hump. So what we can do is appeal to their sense of emotion in a very positive way through their food. Yeah. Would one other person like to share their breakfast, their favorite breakfast? You're not obliged, of course.
Hi, Nicole. It's Claire.
Hi, Claire.
Hi, how are you? Quinoa and oats for me.
Okay, so you and Anushka are similar.
Yeah, creatures of habit, including myself. Thank you.
Thank you. And you bring up a really good point, because one of the things I found is that injecting quinoa into different options, particularly for people who won't eat protein at all for breakfast. So quinoa is a really good way to do that. So for me, for example, for me to have black bread and cheese for breakfast, a small sandwich, this is fine. And in fact, I was traveling with a Russian friend of mine, and there we were having brioche and a cappuccino, and he was like, I need a butterbrot, I need a sandwich, I need something. So to find what a person can do, and if a person can't have protein, if we think about our perfect plate, right, 1/4 of it is protein, even at breakfast, quinoa can be a useful way to get that. Also, nuts are another good way. So thank you. And I want to move on because I would like to ask, have any of you had an experience with a client where you have used the idea of a different food at a particular mealtime? And if no, that's okay too. Anyone? I'm ready to write. No? Okay. Okay, that's okay. I thank you for being willing to be there, and we'll move on. So next we have multicultural meal ideas and recipe sharing. So here was what many of you have been waiting for. I thank you for your patience and your participation. So my contributions in the recipe area, I've listed these. The first one, Maggie, is in your honor. It's a Swiss variation of your bread that you've given us. And I really enjoy it. The second is ashure, which is a breakfast or dessert. It's a Turkish version, and it's an Armenian dish as well. The third is Iranian chicken and rice with saffron. For me, that's a great thing to have for dinner because it's actually quite light. Then we have Milanese spinach egg soup, which is on my website as well. And this is a fantastic thing in the winter. Those of you who said you love soups, I'm with you. I love them. It's a great meal, and I even eat it for breakfast. And then we have Persian koreşe görmeseg sabzi. Also will be on my site in April, but all of these recipes I have available for you in PDF form, and I'll be sending them out with the link through Anita. And then a turkey tonata. Valentina, the first time I served this to my husband, he was very dubious. And now he makes it himself. Instead of using, usually this tonata is a tuna sauce, if you will, and it's usually with roast pork or roast veal, actually. And the healthy option is we take a turkey, and I use actually Greek yogurt instead of mayonnaise, which is the usual base. Pasta fagioli, this is one of my favorite dishes as a child. I lived with my Spanish great-grandparents, and he took it to his grave, but I've been managed to get it as close to his as possible. Braised artichoke sauce, which is, I love this recipe because I love artichokes. I'll eat them anyway, including raw. And then Italian vegan carrot cake. That's my concession to a sweet. I don't make sweets. In fact, Maggie, the chocolate cake you gave us, chocolate and orange, that is my go-to dessert because I'm not a good dessert maker. And the Italian vegan carrot cake is also, will be on my website in April, but I have all of these and you'll have all of these menu ideas. I tried to move around in the different cultures I've lived in. I don't have a Russian one here. I'm sorry, but I don't really cook a lot of Russian food, even though I lived there for a decade. So there you go. Now, your ideas, recipes. I'm ready.
Nicole, if you want, I'll start. And Valentina again. Pasta and fagioli is one of my favorites, and I still make it. I had it last night, and it's just so simple to make and delicious. It is a very hearty meal. One that I'm planning to make tomorrow night is, I know a lot of people, maybe especially in Ireland, might not like things like octopus or. And I think calamari is probably easier on to serve, and people are probably a bit more used to calamari. The one thing that my mom used to make is calamari and peas, and it's like it's not even a soup; it's more like a stew. And it's absolutely delicious. Again, very, very quick to make, and really, really delicious.
Will you send those recipes, please?
Yeah, I will, yeah.
You'll have my email in a minute.
Perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Valentina. I decided not to write on the screen. I'm writing on the paper, but when you send me your recipes, I'll make sure everybody gets them.
Okay.
Who would like to add their recipe ideas? You all brought a recipe, of course.
Hi, it's Katalin speaking.
Hi, Katalin.
As I mentioned before, at the beginning, I have a healthier version of chicken paprika, which is actually, I have a recipe, but it is developed for an instant pot. I'm not sure how many of you would have an instant pot, but I'm at the moment using a lot of the instant pot. And
do you mean a slow cooker, a crock pot?
It is a pressure cooker, not a crock. Well, yes, it has a slow cooking function, but I use it as a pressure cooker.
Okay.
Electrical pressure cooker, and it's very good. It's very time efficient. I highly recommend it. It was, I think, in the US this November. It was the #1 seller on Amazon.
Wow, so, I use the slow cooker a lot.
Yes, that's very good too. And I'm happy to share that recipe. Great, because but it's done for instant pot, so I'm not sure. Maybe it can work for the slow cooker too. And I use soaked porcini mushrooms, and I add the liquid as well as a broth to it. So it's a healthier version with mushrooms, and you can add kale as well, but that's not a part of.
Fantastic. And Katalin brings up a really great point, which is we can modify, and in fact, the vitello tonato, the turkey tonato that I have on my list, we can modify foods. And I'm going to show you in a minute a few books. I have a Southern cooking vegan cookbook, which takes these incredibly heavy, rich, butter-based dishes and makes them healthy. So as Katalin has done, you can vary your own favorite recipes to have a healthier version. Yeah. Anyone else want to share a recipe? Anyone? Okay.
Well, you know, there's lots of recipes up on IINH site. So use all them, and we try to make them culturally friendly. And I think I might get more adventurous.
In fact, I looked over your recipes, but I didn't want to use them because I thought they're already Maggie's.
No, anybody can use them and do whatever they want with them. But what Catalina talks about that cooker, I've heard some Insta cooker. I've heard so many people mentioning that one. Compared to the slow cooker, it seems to be quite amazing. I don't use it because I'm living it. I work from home, so I don't need it. But anybody who has it, it seems to be a really cool thing, actually.
And Maggie and Cataline bring up good points as well. Ask a person not just about the food, but what were the gadgets that they used? For example, for me, a crock pot, which is the slow cooker, this is home because my mother worked 2 jobs and she made everything homemade. So at least twice a week, she had the crock pot on. She left at 7:30 in the morning. She put the stuff in the crock pot. She came home at 6:30 and the dinner was there. And so when I use the crock pot, I actually feel home. So gadgets can be equally useful to talk about with your clients as the recipes and the food choices themselves. Yeah. So just in the sake of time, thank you for your recipes. And if you have other recipes, hold on, I'm just going to go here quickly. I'm going to ask you to send them to me by Saturday. And I will give you a minute in a few minutes to write down my email there. But before we get there, I also want to give you some ideas for some books. I have some of them here with me. This is the Good Food Seasonal Salads. I love this book, The Little Book of Lunches. It's fantastic and it's I've used it. Look, you can see all my bookmarks. I've used it so many times for clients who work in offices, and it has probably 6 to 10 different cultural paradigms in this book. Really useful. And some of you in Britain may already know this one because this is a British woman. I love this book. This is Persiana, and it has beautiful, really accessible, because I find Persian food can be really difficult to make for me, even though I love it. This is really some accessible foods. And then the Fortune Cookie Chronicles. I don't have that one yet because I just found it yesterday. Excuse me, 1 second. I'm still with you. I just want to get a different book. I remembered after I made this. Okay. And these are Southern cuisine. And by Southern, what I mean is the American South. This one is Vegan Soul Kitchen. This has some fantastic recipes in it. And this one, The Inspired Vegan. And these are really cultural from the American South, which I'm from New York, New Jersey area. For me, this is like another world. So I do consider it a cultural paradigm, even though it's in the same country. And then The Food, the History of Taste. I have this coming to me from the US because I wanted to get a hardback. A friend is bringing it. And all of these, when you get on the 22nd, when you get my presentation, I have links to all of these. So you see, I don't know if you can see the hand, but they're all linked, all of these books, okay? And then over here, I've put some videos for you, and I put them in order of how interesting I found them. This first one is a Coptic Christian from Egypt who lives, now I can't remember, I want to say Britain or the US, I don't remember, but she's 80 years old, and she did a food and culture exploration, and she's extraordinarily interesting. And I found, pardon?
No, she's really amazing, and her recipes are fabulous.
Yeah, she's fantastic. And so I wanted to give you some ideas, because I know for me, sometimes I'm listening just in the background and I'm jogged. And I give these to my clients as well when people are asking me for different ideas. And then the one in white is a Netflix series called The Chef's Table. And it is really interesting. In fact, I'm going to one of those restaurants in Modena in June. It's considered the best restaurant in the world. I'm not going for that. I'm going because it's a really interesting idea. And I'm going with a Russian friend from Vladivostok who lives in America. So I find these are really interesting. And all of these also have the links for you. So when you receive this, you'll have all the links. And then here, these are some sites with different recipes. Because when I was preparing the recipes, I thought, I have stacks of cookbooks, but what can be the most accessible thing I can give to a person? And it's a website. Now, I'm not going to click on the websites, because both times I've been practicing on the Zoom, when I click on the website, Zoom kicks me off of Zoom. So I'm not going to do that. I had intended to do that, but I'm not going to. And these are all available to you. They're all active clicks. So when you receive this presentation, you can check them out. And then here, this is logistics as we wrap up our evening. You're welcome to use everything. You'll have all of these materials. You'll have my recipes. Please, those of you who have recipes, even if you didn't bring them tonight, if you have a recipe you want to send by Saturday, please do. And then on Sunday, I'll compile everything. I need a couple days to do that, and I'll start on Sunday. And then Anita will be in Madrid, and when she gets back, she'll send a link to all of you, because I'm going to create a Google Drive link for you. And then this is me. Food Mood is my very playful website. And on my site, you'll find my services. You're welcome. I would be very happy to know all of you in other context, both in reference to intercultural concepts and also as a coach myself. And then I just posted today's Chinese New Year. I'm very excited. You can see in my background, hold on, that I have my Chinese symbols up there. They live there all year, but it's the year of the dog. I'm a dog. And whether or not one believes in these things, which I don't, but I find it really fun. I did a post, and there are 3 recipes on this post. Not dog meat recipes, because that isn't my kind of food per se, although I have eaten it in China. And I have a section on my website called Food Speaks, and each of those things, it's part of a series I'm doing where I have a story and the recipe that goes with it. And the story is about a person, not about necessarily the recipe. So you're welcome to those. They're all in PDF online, all of my recipes. I'm going to give you the ones we talked about, but you might find some other ones there that are interesting too. And thank you. Good luck. I wish you luck. I thank you so much for sharing your time and your ideas. And I really look forward. Please give feedback now. Give feedback to Anita if this is something we can improve, that you think we should offer in a different way, because you can probably tell I'm genuinely passionate about this, because as some of you said at the beginning, this idea of food and culture, that they're in it, it's like language and culture. I can't take them apart because they live together. So it's such a pleasure and an honor to share with you my humble ideas about how these things can relate to us as nutritional therapists, and also as coaches, in relationship to how we can reach a person, how we can give a person a space, and how we can empower and inspire a person using the paradigm of their culture, as opposed to diminishing it based on what we think they should do, which, IINH with its idea of bioindividuality is absolutely in the idea of space and offering and coming together with your client to make something that works for them. So that's me. That's it.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Really enjoyed that.
Thank you all.
I think all of us will.
Thank you. Thanks.
New avenues. Absolutely. That was super. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And please send your recipes by Saturday. Can everyone see my email address there?
Yes. Yes, we can. It's there.
Okay. So just jot that down. It's just my name.food@gmail.com, so that you can send the recipes. Because the more we share, the more rich what we can have as a product from the end of the session.
Thanks, Nicole. You're amazing.
Great. Thank you.
It's only you guys being willing to participate. Thank you.